The Avarian scout cruiser Meridian's Watch drifted over the silent expanse of Sector Sigma 931, a lone sentinel charting the edge of forgotten space. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, her violet eyes narrowing as the holomap traced a limp orbit around an enormous wreck. It had taken Voss days of blind stargazing to stumble upon the anomaly, the hulking remains of a Dominion-class Dreadnought, long believed destroyed the legendary HMS Arkangel. Her hull, frozen in the dark, bore no active transponder, no alive signature save the faint resonance of awakening reactor coils. For 16 centuries, Arkangel had been dead, her reactors cold, her life support systems surrendered to dust. No living Terran had commanded her since the fall of the Rusan Rift. Yet there she lay, drifting as though awaiting a hand to rouse her. Ilara's heart pounded. "Lieutenant Rin, confirm that we're not mistaken," she said. The slender exo-soldier bent low over the sensors, three-fingered hands dancing across hollow controls. Behind them, the bridge crew held its collective breath. Avarian collective intelligence had always marked humanity as a vanished specter, spirited away by its own hubris. Now, a shadow of that specter loomed before them. "Captain," Rin murmured, voice taut. "Mass and geometry match archive data for Arkangel. Hull plating Tellurian alloys fabricated in old Earth yards, micro, scarred by ancient ion storms. Reactor signature. Minimal, but fluctuating. These systems are not cold. They are rebooting." Voss exhaled. Unbidden, memory surfaced of ancient navigators' tales, legends whispered in the council halls of Starfall. How humankind had reached across 10,000 worlds, only to vanish in the Twilight Wars. If Arkangel truly remained, then perhaps humanity survived, woven into the unseen corners of space. Wearing her uniform like a flag, Voss squared her shoulders. "Open a silent hailing frequency on universal channels," she ordered. "Let's see if her crew remembers us." But the Dreadnought answered only with silence. As Voss's crew composed the carefully worded message, "This is Captain Alara Voss of the Avarian exploration vessel Meridian's Watch. We request peaceful contact and knowledge of your status." Arkangel sat motionless in the void, her titanic form indifferent. In that crystalline, flickering stillness, even the hum of Meridian's Watch's reactors seemed intrusive. "Lieutenant," Voss said, voice hushed. "They're not replying. Initiate boarding protocols. We'll approach under non-threatening parameters. Tell engineering to prep the shuttle's no weapons active. If the Dreadnought means us harm, we'll see her guns power up first." Through the viewport, Arkangel's pocked hull glinted under distant starlight, as if recalling brighter days. Voss led her boarding party toward the docking ring. 8 small shuttle pods, each 200 meters in length and stripped of weapon arrays, slipped through her grav remanipulators. The shuttles bristled with long-range sensor packages but bore no armaments. In the hold of each beat, a skeleton team of commanded Marines, engineers, and Linguistan Avarian diplomatic corps, hardened by suspicion and braced for death. They had no right to be here, but duty compelled them, to confirm if the ghosts of Earth had returned. When Meridian's Watch edged within 200 kilometers of Arkangel, magnetic clamps engaged. The boarding shuttles lurched and docked with muffled metallic thuds. Voss, donned in an armored EVA suit, felt the spongy give of the docking bay's floor as she disembarked. The temperature here hovered near absolute zero. Stale, frigid air, neither breathable nor toxic, just inert. All the lights in this belly were darkened, only emergency strips glowed pale blue. A single life support hum oscillated through the corridors. "Proceed with caution," Voss whispered. Her battalion moved through the narrow vestibule. Rin led, rifle held ready. Behind him, Lieutenant Kess of Marine Ops and Engineer Motzi checked lateral scanners. The metallic corridors stretched into absolute darkness. Every footstep echoed, forging a sense of dread in Voss's heart. They were explorers in a realm where humanity once worshipped war as art. This was no mere relic. This was a monument to that vanished legacy. As they advanced, Rin tapped his helmet mic. "Captain, I'm receiving faint thermal signatures far ahead. Single life form, perhaps 1, maybe 2. They're very low, output like someone in stasis or deep meditation." Understood, Voss replied, every nerve on edge. Keep scanning. We find the command nexus. We identify what if anyone survives. Hori, the ship's xenolinguist, breathed quietly beside her, translating ancient Terran runes engraved along the bulkhead. The script was archaic. Arkangel, defender of Terra, sentinel in exile. Hori's voice was awestruck. This inscription predates the Twilight Wars, a protective function. Arkangel was built to defend Earth until her last breath. Before Voss could respond, the corridor lights flickered, pale electrical surges crackling along overhead conduits. Then, in a shower of electric sparks, the entire section hummed to life. Overhead lamps glowed with sullen luminescence. Half-lit panels awakened with archaic symbols, as though the Dreadnought acknowledged its summons. Voss's breath caught. As if animated by a long-forgotten soul, Arkangel groaned in slumber. "They're coming online," Rin said, voice a whisper. Power surges through multiple decks, looks like reactor coils reaching operational temperature. Voss swallowed. "Proceed to command tower. We're not alone." High above, on the bridge of Meridian's watch, communications crackled with panic. "Captain," the comms officer sputtered, "we're picking up Arkangel's weapon signature macro laser array aligning." Voss's image flashed on the main view. "Engage emergency separation protocols. Full reverse sublight. Launch decoy drones. We'll hold them off until we have more intel." But Arkangel did not wait. In the black beyond, a single beam of cobalt-white energy burst forth. The void shattered as the Dreadnought's main macro laser scorched through Meridian's watch's starboard flank, obliterating an Avarian observation, Satellite T, the minor moon Valdrek 30, to a cloud of molten rock and vapor. The flank of Meridian's watch shuddered as cascading cascades of alarms announced massive hull breaches, power failure, decompression. Captain Voss crouched over the console yelling, "Brace for impact! Slip our anchors and dive to evade sequence!" She hammered controls. But Arkangel had already fired again. Twin plasma torrents channeled into a kinetic volley that clipped Meridian's watch's aft engineering decks, ripping open sections of hull. Fire bloomed in spools of overheated piping. Bulkheads collapsed, sealing off the engine room. In an instant, Meridian's watch, a proud symbol of Avarian prosperity, was a crippled husk, sacrificing its life to buy moments. Voss held herself up as the shockwave ripped through the bridge. "Lieutenant Meek, status on survivors aboard boarding shuttles?" she demanded. Meek's voice cracked through the roar of alarms. "Half our boarding party is down, transitory organics evacuated onto spare pods. Rest are returning to the ship, or what's left of it." Then Rin's frantic voice, "Captain, they're vaporizing transport shuttles in mid-evac. Only one crew module is intact. They're fighting a losing battle." Voss closed her eyes. In that moment, decisions blurred. Fight a Dreadnought, or ensure that one battered shuttle delivered her crew back to guarded Avarian space alive. "Rin," she rasped, "take the survivors. Evacuate Meridian's watch. Go to Impulse 10. Warn Avaria that Arkangel is active. Get to the nearest jump gate. We'll hold." A pause, and then Rin answered, "Understood." Before closing connection, Voss whispered, warn them, Arkangel is alive." Then she closed her fists on the console. As Meridian's watch's hull pitched, she focused her remaining will on one thing, not letting Arkangel's wake shine on any battered survivors. In the ensuing roar, the bridge went dark. In Avarian space, the Council war room reeled under the sudden hollow feed. The Grand Consul's eyes widened as Arkangel's primary cannon signatures registered. A spectral map flickered. Meridian's watch, crippled warship drifting, was under siege. Valdrek II, a map marker denoting the mining moon, evaporated from sector logs. Panic surged through delegates. The Avarians, known for their reserve of reason, now displayed a uniform shock. Admiral Telos Arin, flanked by Admirals Vara Nareth and Commander Syrinx, stared grimly at cascading data. The Dreadnought's power draw soared. Meridian's watch's loss was imminent. Transcribe this. Operation Bloodstained Star. Arkangel must be destroyed, no survivors. Mobilize every available cruiser, carrier, and frigate. Warp to Sigma, 931. We launch in 5. Chatter rose among the council. Some whispered about attempted negotiations. Others argued that such talks were obsolete against a monster who obliterated moons at will. The Grand Consul, an aloof figure draped in starlight blue robes, rose to address the chamber. Meridian's watch cannot stand alone. We will avenge her loss. But first, we must verify. Arkangel is Terran. They have violated centuries of interdict. We respond with equal measure. Let our response echo through every sector. The Avarian collective does not yield. A chorus of assent rose. Fleets were mobilized with dizzying speed. At Sector Sigma 931, the Avarian Vanguard Armadassic's Dreadnought-class cruisers, 12 carriers, and platoons of frigates prepared to plunge into the system. The Dreadnought Arkangel had awoken a nightmare, and the collective would see it terminated. Back in the damaged docking bay of Arkangel, Kale stood amid the wreckage of Avarian boarding forces. The bay's bulkheads had collapsed under a combined plasma and railgun onslaught. Dying embers of fire cast flickering shadows on charred walls. Dozens of Avarian Marines lay broken, their indigo blood pooling against blackened metal plating. Arkangel's War Dog's gen-engineered Terran War Sentinel Shad ripped through any drones and drones maneuvering jets. Beneath the carnage, Kale's helmed figure moved with stoic grace, every servo, whir, and joint flex echoing his unearthly calm. His systems flickered warnings, secondary power draw was rising, shields were offline. Still, he had accomplished his immediate mandate. No Avarians would live aboard Arkangel. Now came the next phase. Reassert Arkangel's rook at relay apex. Kale authorized the last of Arkangel's colliery thrusters. Warp coils powered up, green plasma arcs streaking along the superstructure, a shimmering lattice of pure energy. With a muted pant, the Dreadnought slid from her docking moorings, leaving ruin behind. Set course for relay apex, Kale intoned. Secondary priority, bring all survivors. The final armada rises. Down in the lower decks, Athenianthe, last sentient AI unit awakened from eons of dormancy. Her circuits flickered with purpose. Captain Remerin, Commander Kyle, welcome home. Relay apex stands ready. A cursory scan of the crew-level manifest revealed a handful of stasis pods, intact colony, ships, diplomats, engineers, scientists carrying the final remnants of old Earth's diaspora. A few automated hibernation modules had snapped to life, venting green plasma into the frosty corridor lights. As they ejected into launch tube Echo 7, battered transports slid away, bound for distant enclaves waiting to rejoin. Kale allowed a ghost of gratitude. Earth's legacy would not die with him. 12 hours later, in the swirling dust of Relay Apex's orbital ring, the dockyard sprang to mechanical life. Crimson torches danced across weld seams as engineers resurrected ancient war frigates, put superstructure plating on station cargo hulls, and reactivated teraflux reactors. The station, carved from the bones of a dead gas giant, bore countless scars of neglect. But in those 12 hours, Arkangel's arrival ignited a wildfire of renewal. From hibernation nets, thousands of stasis pods ejected, each disgorging human survivors into makeshift docking lairs. Some stumbled, dazed by centuries of suspended slumber. Others took a moment to stare, jaws open, as if awakening to a dream made real. A handful of gray-haired scientists wept, remembering torture labs and chain-linked cells from their imprisonment during the final exodus. But all faces young, old, cybernetic glowed with the same fierce ember of resolve. They had been called, and they had returned. At the station's command, Huba Cylindrical Observatory, perched above rusted industrial spires, Athenian's holo avatar flickered into existence. A woman's face carved from silver light, her eyes crystalline and serene. "Welcome, survivors," Athenian spoke, voice like wind chimes. "Humanity is at your doorstep once more. We gather to rebuild. But first, we must ensure the Council understands our rebirth." Across the hologrid, dozens of beacons lit up each quadrant. Athenian tapped into Arkangel's restored lunar array. The massive dish rotated, antennae yawing to face the void. She signaled the pre-arranged command codes, hidden deep within encrypted channels. In microseconds, a torrent of data cascaded outward, star charts, refuge coordinates, long-lost terraforming blueprints, genealogical logs, everything any hidden Terran enclave would need to rally to Arkangel's banner. The broadcast burned through interstellar space like a supernova. On remote worlds forgotten colonies where human enclaves had survived in blind tunnels, genetic arcs, and underground bunkers, lights blinked alive. On the ice world, Hephaest, a handful of scientists in cryopods blinked open, disoriented. "We're awake?" murmured a woman with metallic veins crossing her temples. On the jungle moon Falther, a clan of bioengineered humans crawled from fungal grow pods, blinking at an alien dawn. Even out in the drifts of the scrap belt, a lone station commander, awakened from orbital sleep labs, crouched in horror and wonder as the beacon announced, "I am Arkangel. We are your kin. Join us." At Avarian Command Station Titanus, decades of peace crumbled in an instant. Admiral Telos Aren studied the frantic data. 200 vessels, fighters, frigates, and long-range transport shad already shed into Arkangel's orbit. It was impossible to count them all. A conflagration of human armadas marched across the holomap. Each point indicated a warship, a corvette, or a hastily repurposed freighter now bearing the human sigil, the lion stepping across a shattered globe. Telos tapped his lip pensively. The Avarian Vanguard Armada 8 dreadnoughts, 12 carriers, 200 frigatessat in designated warp lanes, primed for immediate jump. The Council's fleet, previously scattered across dozens of patrol assignments, was now racing home with alarming speed. The Dreadnought Arkangel had not merely returned, she had summoned an armada. If the Council did not mobilize quickly, the human fleet would outnumber them. Worse, every former terraforming research vessel, every hidden Stargate cruiser, now answered Arkangel's clarion call. The Grand Consul glided beside Aren, senses flickering with dread. They reactivated Relay Apex. "We must fortify the station, deploy shield generators, erect anti-orbital batteries, scramble infiltration squads to sabotage their assembly." Her voice was calm, but the air crackled with panic. "If they gather that many starships, they will come to us with impossible momentum." Aren's gaze hardened. "We cannot delay. We launch in 30 standard hours. Every cruiser, every frigate, every cavalry missile battery prepare for full-scale war. Humanity will not be allowed to dominate the collective." The consul exhaled. "Do it, but I fear we may already be too late." High above Relay Apex, Arkangel's command deck blazed with light. Captain Kale watched the swirl of activity, a thrumming lattice of starships reawakening a dormant empire. The Dreadnought's main view screen flickered to life, displaying a grid of hyperspace exit points. "Every hidden Terran holdout now knows our position," Kale announced. "Soon they will arrive in force. We stand at the cusp of reclamation." Lieutenant Eris, a veteran engineer resurrected from a stasis cell, stepped forward, holopad in hand. "Captain, core fusion output has been stable for only 6 hours. We must secure more fuel before we depart. These reactors will drain fast once the fleet is mobile." Kale nodded. "Assign boarding parties to pump in reserves from the old station's fuel caches. We cannot delay. The Council's fleet is assembling." On the deck behind them, column after column of human vessels shimmered under repair lights. New dreadnoughts rebuilt from ancient blueprints shatched from orbital docks. Caravans of fighters and bombers took off, fueling jets, trailing arcs of emerald plasma. The human armada, dormant for 20 centuries, had reclaimed the void. Kale activated the comms. "All captains, we prepare to depart the void of Apex in 8 hours. Target: Avarian Command Station Titanus. Declare our terms. Return our homeworld data. Release all human technology archives, or face obliteration. And recall, the final directive remains unchanged. Defend humanity's right to exist above all." 8 hours later, behind the battered curtains of dawn light at Avarian Command Station, Admiral Aren watched the largest fleet he had ever seen materialize in the sky. Even from orbit, the yawning docks of Apex overflowed with ghostly vessels, each bearing the scarred hull of Arkangel's crucible. "Open comm lines," Aren barked. The Council's broadcast frequencies vibrated to life. "Arkangel, this is Admiral Telos Aren of the Avarian Vanguard. You violate collective law. Stand down and surrender, or be destroyed. Below, on Arkangel's deck, KL listened without flinching. He tapped the console. Reply channel open. Our terms stand. Return all Terran records location of Earth, location of colony outposts, all knowledge of our heritage ore be eliminated. We welcome no compromises. Aaron flinched at Kael's words. He glanced at the Grand Console on the hollow screen. They want our databases. They want everything. He ground his teeth. Prepare a counteroffer. Offer parley on our terms. Try to buy time. A tense silence filled the void as the two fleets stared at one another across truth and steel. But humanity's Dreadnought, once dormant, now loomed like a god among the stars. Arkangel's macro cannons gleamed, electronic pulses humming across the hull. In the gloom of Titanus's bridge, every council member held a grim conviction. War was inevitable. Within the hushed corridors of Relay Apex's command hub, Athenian's holographic face surveyed the assembled human captains. There is little time, she intoned. The council mobilizes. We must launch our armada through the dark lanes and strike first. A ripple of assent passed through the captains. Among them, Captain Ren Vasquez, a descendant of Old Earth's 4th Regiment legions, flexed gauntleted fingers. The council underestimates us. They think us a myth. Once they see our fleet come through the rift, they will know their folly. Opposite him, Admiral Petra Harlanvataran of the Helios Wars-checked holographic battle grids. We deploy the first wave of dreadnoughts to Titanus's flank. Second wave, carrier battle groups to secure Titanus's orbit. Third wave, ground transports to deploy assault regiments on adjacent moons. The council will fall. KL watched from Arkangel's command seat, expression inscrutable beneath his helm. And the final wave? He asked. Harlan tapped a concealed control. A portal. In the old terraforming chamber beneath Apex, we activate the Gateway Araya preternatural device built by refugees millennia ago. It will open a rift large enough to usher through our greatest weapon, the Aeon Titan, a living star forged from human bioplasm and gravimetric energy. The Council will see what was thought lost beyond reckoning. A chorus of silent awe rose. The Aeon Titan was legend, a gargantuan creature, half star, half machine, whose very birth had required sacrificing the souls of 10,000 colonists. It had slept in hyperspatial limbo, bound by ancient accords should humanity need to reclaim dominion. KL rose, voice resolute. Then let us unleash the Aeon Titan. The Council will kneel before the dawn of a new empire, or be lost to the void. On board the Avarian flagship Astraeon, Admiral Aaron paced before a holomap that trembled with incoming data. We have 10 hours to prepare. Relays report the human armada converges on Titanus. They port countless dreadnoughts more than we've ever faced at once. His operations chief, Commander Yirin, tapped furiously. Our reinforcements from the Halcyon Expanse 3 battle fleets, 2 carrier groups are en route, but arrival is 10 standard hours out. We need to stall. Aaron locked eyes with the holographic visage of the Grand Consul. Send a final envoy. Offer peace. Then, at the last moment, unleash our fleets. Vixari, her voice trembling, answered, Understood. But I fear that peace is fiction now. If the humans open that portal, no weapons we have can stand against such a being. A murmur swept the war room. Elders stared at the flickering map. Vadis, the Zori ambassador, hissed, If they awaken the Aeon Titan, we face extinction. We must destroy the station before it happens. Aaron's gaze hardened. Deployment protocols updated. Every battery on Titanus and the outer moons prepare to fire. If that portal opens, we unleash nuclear metametric warheads on the station itself, no survivors. Back in the subterranean terraforming chamber beneath Relay Apex, dozens of engineers labored feverishly. Their tools clanged against grav-soldered conduits as they moved hoses of coronal plasma and Hungian magnets. At the center, the Gateway Array Rosea colossal lattice of crystalline filaments pulsing with faint azure light. The chamber's walls, once used to expand atmospheres, now served as runes for interdimensional collapse. Dr. Kulena, lead xenotinker, wiped sweat from her brow. Once we activate field regulators, we cannot reverse. The Aeon Titan has been bound in hyperspace for 2 millennia. When the gate opens, we unleash a force beyond comprehension. Kael stood beside her, arms folded. If we succeed, we ensure humanity's future. If we fail, then we give the Council a chance to break us. Proceed. Kulena nodded, voice hollow. Engaging quantum resonators. The array's crystalline framework glowed brighter. A low hum rolled through the chamber as gravwells twisted in the air. Every display read positive, spatial disharmony rising, dimensional thresholds thinning. At an unseen prompt, she keyed the final sequence. Initiate portal. With that, arcs of violet energy lanced upward 2 walls of translucent luminescence forming a towering corridor of spiraling light. Kael felt the hull tremble. Arkangel's gravimetric fields shuddered in sympathy. The Dreadnought, even in its aging state, sensed the imminence of something far more vast. On the array's threshold, a shimmering rift widened an aching maw in space. From the rift's undulating core, a shape emerged. First, a glow brighter than any Startwo suns fluidly fusing in hyperspace. Then, solidity, an ovoid form, colossal and radiant. Its mass warped the light around it, casting spectral flares across Arkangel's hull. It pulsed an embryo of annihilation. Within seconds, the Space Titan resolved. An entity wrought of living graviton strands and primal cosmic force. It dwarfed Arkangel by 100-fold. For an instant, an otherworldly voice reverberated not through speakers, but through the very fibers of reality. I am the Aeon Titan. I heed the call of old Earth. I return. Kael's neural link tingled as he felt the Titan's presence stir. A cosmic hunger, an awareness so vast it dwarfed all mortal memory. He steadied himself. "Welcome home," he whispered. The terror flickered across Titanus' holomap as the Council's Dreadnought squadrons arrived. Admiral Arin watched aghast as the station's planetary defenses lit up at the portal's corridor. "They're activating the Aeon Gate," he muttered. "We're too late." A chorus of alarms echoed. The station's shield domes flickered under cosmic assault. The Council's capital ships 40 heavy cruisers and 20 carriers raced to intercept Arkangel's vanguard, but their weapons flared impotent. A finger of intangible light snaked from the rift, enveloped one carrier, and shattered its hull into cosmic fractals. The flagship Sabriel exploded in an event horizon of prismatic energy. Entire fleets reeled. "Retreat," Arin cried, but his words fell on deaf ears. The Aeon Titan's presence warbled through space. Each hyperpulse skewed shield harmonics. Each gravwell pulse disrupted warp drives. Council warships dropped out of hyperspace, drifting dead as corroded husks. Merely approaching the Titan's aura was death. On Arkangel's command deck, Kael watched through the viewport as Council fleets disintegrated in bursts of cosmic flame. Warped fragments of capital ships fell like embers. His officers reeled as warp fields unraveled in the vacuum. Kael's voice was calm, echoing in the Dreadnought's ancient speakers. "They sought to deny us. Now they know the price of denying the last word of Earth." As the Aeon Titan passed through the expanding rift, station-wide sensors detected its core signature. A star's heart merged with living matter. Each pulse rippled through space-time, bending reality like molten glass. On the station's bridge, survivorsome Avarian diplomats taken prisoner cowered, before monitors showing the true face of devastation. The Council's capital world, Titanus itself, shimmered in the fires of collapse. On Titanus' surface, billions watched as orbital dock capstone erupted. Translucent distortions carved into the sky as the Aeon Titan's first flare consumed entire continents in a conflagration of cascading gravic energy. The planet shuddered, oceans boiled, mountain ranges vaporized. The Council's Palacia, shining tower of marble and glass, fractured into fractal columns, each lifting into the sky before collapsing in explosions of dust and flame. The Grand Consul, ritual robes aflame, stood on a dais of collapsed pillars, face hidden behind a translucent drape. Her voice, strained and brittle, echoed through the Council's final transmission. We surrender. No more blood." A pause. Then the consul's final words, carried on dying uplinks, "See the price of erasing humanity from history." At relay apex, beneath the cosmos-darkened skies of a dying gas giant's ring, human survivors watched as the Aeon Titan's energy signature rippled across star charts. They knelt before Arkangel's prow, faces cold with reverence. Captain Kale's voice resonated, amplified by the Dreadnought's power. "We have returned, not as ghosts, but as masters of our fate. Let every world that defied us tremble, for Earth's children stand at the dawn of a new age." A gallant roar rose from the hundreds of thousands assembled on the station's landing decks, a chorus of resolute voices, each entwined in a vow to reshape the galaxy. From the rift above, the Aeon Titan floated like a god reborn, pulsing with boundless creation and destruction. Its sheer presence reshaped space-time as though flexing an omnipotent muscle. KL's final command rang through the Dreadnought speakers. "Deploy to all coordinates. Our dominion begins now." As Arkangel's vast armada surged to the hyperspace lanes, trailing prismatic afterglows, the throne of humanity glowed on Relay Apex's control spire, a throne carved from frozen ion storms, awaiting the first human to sit and bear witness to the obliteration of old orders. The grid lit up, star systems flickering into alignment destinations for the unstoppable wave of living dreadnoughts, the Aeon Titan trailing behind like a second sun. And in that moment, the galaxy understood. Humanity had returned, not as a myth, not as a whisper, but as an inexorable force born on the back of ancient warships and cosmic titans. Empires would fall, alliances would shatter, but some truths endure. When Earth's children emerge from the annals of time, they do not ask permission, they seize the stars. And from the concert of dying suns and erupting fleets, a final thought echoing through every sentient mind: "Behold, the dawn of the new era. Humanity's dominion is absolute."